gonna get folksy, so I thought this maybe would help get us in the right, frame of mind. Check this out. I find it really, really fun to pretend to be a guitar player. 3 chords, you can play a lot of songs. If you've got 4, well, I mean, that's fancy right there. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling it? You might not. I am feeling it. I'm feeling great. Already I have dents in my fingertips. Yeah. Ooh, a minor chord. Fancy. Oh, there's D7. It really wants to resolve. It wants to go to G. Can we get an actual guitar player out here, please? Every person has a story. And you know what? So does every piece of furniture. Come along with me today, and I'll tell you a furniture fable. Hi everyone, I'm Andy. Welcome to Furniture Fables. Well, here she is. That sweet little desk you may have seen at the end of the workshop redo fable, and a piece that has been hanging around said workshop for some time. I picked up this piece from someone selling it for a charity and so happily paid the $15 asking price. Most likely from the 1940s or 50s and solid maple, this desk was definitely showing her age. Someone actually recently asked me if I was planning to try and modernize the piece, but even though it may be harder to sell, I really didn't want to do that. And so, hearing sweet folk tunes playing in my head, I began. I started the way I always do, by taking out all the drawers and removing all of the hardware. Then I began one of my epic and rather aggressive cleans. This piece was dirty, my friends. Extremely, extremely dirty. And so she got the hose. Yeah, I know this is sometimes upsetting for some folks to see, but never fear. She came through just fine and dried out beautifully. Once dry, I began sanding the top of the desk. What was left of the finish was ready to come off pretty happily. You can see the top did have some black staining. This is probably from a water stain. And that type of stain will not sand out, unfortunately. You either need to bleach it out or disguise it somehow. I continued on with my sanding, cleaning up all of the drawer fronts, sides, and interiors. Whenever I need to sand the bottom of a really deep drawer like this one, you can see I get in there as best I can with my full sander attached to its dust extraction. And you can see I can really only get about that much on either side, and that center part is basically impossible. So I do what I call my dental assistant trick. Basically, I'm just gonna be my own dental assistant right here. I'm gonna take the hose attachment off, and I'm going to sand with the sander not attached, but when it fires up, this suction will begin because they're connected. And I'm gonna just kind of sand around as I go to help control the dust. It's just a, just a little thing I can do to help keep the dust down as I work without it attached. Looks pretty good. You can see there's a few little spots there that I can just get in and do by hand. Once I had the drawers prepped, I put the desk on its back and took a look at the bottom of those side panels. You can see we've got some major separation and warping. I considered replacing the sides completely, but decided that since I was planning to paint anyway, this would be a great place where I could save some money. And instead, I just chiseled out all of the damaged bits on the bottom. And then I got out my Bondo and did a wood fill repair. Bondo is a two-part epoxy wood filler. It's super strong, super tough, so it's going to be able to handle this rather large, if not very deep, fill. And I'll be able to sand it nice and smooth. I decided to go ahead and take off the front decorative base trim pieces so that I could clean them up a little bit more easily. By the way, here is the desk without its curvy decorations on it, and you can see it would not be that hard to take it modern. But we are not going to do that this time. Okay, back to sanding. I used a 180 grit to go around the desk and got out all of the old dings and scratches that were all over the body. And then I sat down to think. How are you feeling? You look great. It feels so good to get clean and get sanded. You're like a blank palette. Ready for some design fun, yes? This is my new little best friend. Well, I really like you. I hope you like me. I'm gonna try to do my very best for you. So I have been thinking for a while about what I want to do with the desk, what look I want to give it, and I have found myself feeling completely overwhelmed, and I think I finally realized why I felt so overwhelmed. I think I was really thinking about it from the point of view of the sale. I was thinking about the sale. In other words, who will actually buy it? And that's not a bad thing to think about when you are in this business. But I have realized that I think I want with this little guy to just let that issue go for myself, because The pieces that I have done so far this year have either been green or they have been some kind of combination of blacks and browns, wood tones, etc. And I've loved all of them, but I want to just do something colorful. I want to have some fun. And so I think what I'm going to do is just start to dive in, and I might change direction. I might add a color and then say, nope, that's not the color, and go a different direction. I just kind of want to let myself play. That is actually really important when you are doing creative work like this. Every once in a while, you kind of need to just let yourself go and do and experiment and not worry and focus too much about the result and having that be a win, because otherwise you kind of get stuck and stagnant and you feel a little bit trapped and boxed in by things that may not even really be there, but that start to kind of block you up in your mind. So that's what I'm going to do with you, my little friend. Before I could jump in and start playing, I realized I had a few cracks on the top that I needed to fill. So I added some wood filler, and while that was drying, started down the color pathway. I began with some linen. I know I was just talking about color, bright, fun colors, but I think I was kind of envisioning using it as a base, but quickly decided, nah, and I got out this very pretty yellow. I went pretty far with it. I covered almost the entire desk with it, even though it was this paint was really hard to spread. It did not really want to move. I had to add a lot of water to it. And while I love yellow, and it's been a long time since I've done a yellow piece, it just wasn't vibing. It didn't feel right. So I took those trim pieces off again and sanded them, because I decided I wanted the option, at least, of having them be unpainted. And then I took a quick color break to sand the filler down on the top. And then I got out this kind of clay terracotta shade. I believe the specific color is Alchemist. It's by Country Chic, or I should say it was by Country Chic. I don't believe it's available anymore on their website, which is honestly kind of too bad, because as soon as I started to lay it down, I knew it was just what I had been looking for. I brushed on the first coat, and then I decided to bust out my roller to help me get the second and third coats on more quickly. Once the body was painted, I applied some painter's tape to the front center drawer, and then I used my pencil to trace along that scalloped edge. I cut the tape with my scissors, and then I noticed I was actually going to need to tweak that center drawer. Its placement was a little bit off. It was higher on one side than the other. This was actually a super easy fix. And so once I had things lined up, I placed my scallop tape along the side drawer front and smoothed it down really well. And then I painted a coat of my paint on the bottom side. Well, I was cooking along so well and fast with my idea now that is starting to come into focus that I forgot a very key step, which is that I'm going to need to tone this wood. I'm really liking the effect of it in its light state with this really warm kind of apricot paint. If I don't do anything to it and seal it up, it won't stay like this. It'll go kind of return to something close to what it looked like before. So I think what I'm going to do actually is grab some very yellow paint and I'm going to make up a little paint wash and see if this is the way to go. Now, you know, I already added the curve portion over here. That's okay, I think, because layers, steps in the layers, it's always a key issue. And I have jumped ahead over there. So that was my bad. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go back and correct. And we'll see. This might look too golden. If this is too yellow, then I think I will try that linen shade. Let's get a washing. Here we go. Actually, I ended up making the paint wash by blending the linen color that I used first on the desk with just a little kind of dash of the yellow to warm it up. And it came out pretty nicely, kind of a warm linen or flax color. I applied it to the front of the drawers and then wiped it back with my shop cloths. On that drawer that I had already added the scallop stencil to, I just did my best and then later went back and touched it up with a little artist brush. Before I washed the top of the desk, I wrapped the body of it to protect it from drips. And then I painted the entire top with my custom paint wash and wiped it back. To seal up the top, I used this big brush that is actually for deck staining. It was awesome for the top, and I used it to top coat the body of the desk as well. When I started thinking about how I wanted to take this little desk in kind of a folk art vibe direction, I thought of all the different ways that I could do that. And of course, if I had the time, it would be a really fun desk to attempt to do some sort of hand painted design with. But I don't have that amount of time right now. I came up with an idea. I have this remnant of this kind of Scandinavian, maybe it's Swedish, I'm not sure, folk art decoupage paper that I have. I think this one was done by Dixie Bell years and years ago. I don't know if they still have it. I'll check and see. And my idea is to take my wooden pulls, the original wooden pulls from the piece. I've already got them sanded and I've paint washed all of them. And I think what I'm going to do is attempt to make some custom pulls using the decoupage paper. I think that might look cool. It might look kind of cool. There's no way to know but to try. And hey, if it looks terrible, then I'll just sand it off and we'll go a different direction. So after I picked out where on the design I wanted to be showing on the pull, I added a layer of top coat and then carefully placed the paper over the top of the pull. Then I cut the paper all around the pull, smoothed it down, and added one more layer of top coat over that, essentially using it as a glue. Okay, I'm sure you remember those black marks on the top of the desk. Well, that paint wash was a big help in disguising, but there is definitely some of it still showing. And so my hope was that this last little bit of folksy charm would help to disguise it completely. We'll see. I grabbed some mustard colored paint and this folk art stencil, and I stenciled what I call a broken border on the four sides of the desk. This little gal's got spirit. It's an interesting one for sure. Okay, do you remember our dark and dingy, dirty, crusty charity case? Well, here she is now. Modern? Who needs modern? With her cool color combo, custom pulls, and curves that go on and on, our folksy girl has a down-to-earth playfulness that simply lights up the room. So what did this playful flip cost me? Well, the desk itself was $15. I spent about $30 for paint. That extremely happy drawer liner paper was another $7. And I'll throw in another $25 for rags, sanding pads, top coat, etc., bringing my total out-of-pocket cost to $77. So what might I list it for? Well, the last folk art desk I made sold rather quickly for $375. but it did have a more unique silhouette. I don't know, I'm thinking this one may list somewhere around the $300 mark, but please let me know your pricing suggestions and your overall thoughts on this desk. Did you like the folk art approach, or would you have pushed it into a modern style? Was the color palette a hit for you, or did it miss the mark? And what about those custom pulls? Sweet inspiration, or too much? I hope you enjoyed our folk tale. If so, please make sure to hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future furniture serenades. Thank you so much for joining me, my friends. I will see you next time for more Furniture Fables. I have so many ideas and only one desk. Alas.